See, I didn't ask.
Clear the house.
Okay. I'd like to call a meeting to order for the Sylvania Township Board of Zoning Appeals for, what's the date here? December 5th, 2016. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Schlechter.
Here.
Mr. Miller. Or, I'm sorry. Mr. Hayes.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Syke. Here. Sorry.
Any previous minutes to be approved?
Yeah. The October 5th minutes?
I'll move to approve it.
Well, you know what? We can't.
We don't have those.
We don't have them.
Yeah, you emailed it to us. And
It's on the staff report, although the one case is still ending, so
That's correct.
maybe
So there's no,
it's still the minutes though for the meeting, so it doesn't matter.
that's true. That's a good point.
I
well,
mean,
we
we'll
don't have the
new
meeting
next
minutes
week. So
written out.
I'm sorry?
we'll have new minutes next week. So,
Right.
but we can hold off until next week.
Let's defer them to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, moving right along. Any old business? Okay, anybody in the audience that has any testimony, have to raise their right hand and swear in that they're going to talk. You know, anybody's going to talk at the podium has to swear in. Okay? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Okay, or be boiled in oil. Okay. The first one we have is a variance request for a pond on a parcel with less than the minimum required 5 acres for the property located at 4550 Mitchell Road, parcel number 7827485.
Section 2217 of the Sylvania Township Zoning Resolution requires minimum lot acreage of 5 acres for a pond on the lot. The subject property at 4550 Mitchell Road measures just over 5.65 acres in area. Zoning records indicate that a zoning permit for a pond on the property was granted in 1988. At present, the property is in compliance with the zoning resolution. The applicant would like to split 1.65 acres off of the subject property and join that split to the property to the south at 4520 Mitchell Road. This lot split would leave the subject property with just 4 acres, one less than the required acreage for a property to contain a pond. The property would be non-compliant and thus the reason for this variance request. Lot splits are processed and approved by the Lucas County Plan Commission. That office will not approve this lot split without a variance being granted for a pond on a lot with an area measuring less than 5 acres. Sharp ditch runs roughly west-east through the bottom third of the subject property. The applicant wishes to have the new property boundary line follow that ditch line. The applicant maintains that the 1.65 acres south of the ditch belonging to the subject property cannot be seen or accessed from the north side without building a bridge or exiting the property on the north side and accessing the south side via Mitchell Road. Staff finds no special conditions, circumstances, or hardships to the property that would necessitate a variance from the requirements of Section 2217 of the zoning resolution. While the ditch does bisect the subject property, this is not unusual. Ditches often do not follow property lines or vice versa. Further, the ditch was present when the property was purchased by the present owner. Additionally, the applicant is not without options. A private bridge may be constructed on the subject property in order to access the portion of the property south of the ditch without leaving the property and reaccessing off of Mitchell Road. Secondly, while not uncomplicated or inexpensive, the pond can be filled in, thus reducing the need for a variance and allowing for an easy lot split approval. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested variance from the minimum parcel acreage requirement for a pond on a property for the property located at 4550 Mitchell Road.
Any questions? Okay, as you stated in your, when you were talking about this property, they already got a variance to have the pond because of the 5 acres. You got approval to have the pond
They got a permit to have a pond.
because it had 5 acres.
Right. That was in 88.
So if they split this 1.65 off, they will not have 5 acres.
Correct.
Okay.
It'll leave the parcel with 4 acres.
Is 4520 planning on purchasing the split off? Or is it just going to be, they're just going to split that piece of the property off?
The part split from 4550 would be joined to 4520.
Okay.
Anybody have any comments on it from the audience?
I'm Stephen Rentner.
Would you go up to the podium and sign your name and address in there, please?
My name is Steve Rentner. I am representing my mom, Persis Rentner. She's 87 and had some surgery and couldn't be here tonight, but I'll try and make her case for her. She owns the top piece of property there that has the pond and the house on it, and you can see by the red boundary line that it goes through a farm field on the south side there, and I own the lot below that has the barn on it at the back there. That ditch that we're talking about runs from the culvert under Mitchell Road on the left all the way across the property to the lower right. That's Sharp's ditch. That's a 6-foot deep, 10-foot wide ditch with trees on both sides of it. Because of that ditch, if you wanted to get to the south side of that property to take a mower over there or anything else, you have to go out onto Mitchell Road, go across the culvert, put a drive in on the other side, and bring it in over there. And that's kind of a problem. If it was a fence or a building, we could take it down and that would be fine. But right now, that property is split into 2 parts, and the bottom acre and a half there is not really, you can't even see it from the house. So what we would like to do is to take and move that boundary line up to that ditch, which is probably where it should have always been, and add that onto my lot, which is the bottom lot there. That's what we're trying to do to make it more useful. Right now it's 1.5 acres, and we can't even get a farmer to farm it. It's just not big enough. So that's what we're trying to do tonight. We can't fill in that ditch. We can't reroute that ditch. It's on all the county maps, and it has to stay there. So we're kind of stuck with it. Right now, the backyard there, don't know if you can really see it. It's fenced in completely around the pond, and it follows the wood lines that ditch has on it.
Did I read it? I think I read in here, did you consider a bridge?
A bridge could probably be built across it. I don't know what the county would require. Normally they have to require enough for a truck to drive across it, and that makes it relatively expensive to do. Right now we would go out to Mitch Hall Road and go down it, but that road is getting more and more traffic on it all the time, and that's not a good idea.
So when your mother applied for the permit for the pond, it's 5.5 acres, right? And I assume you did that split so that you could accommodate a pond. Otherwise,
I think so. My dad's dream was he loved fishing, and his dream was to have a pond that he could stock and fish, which he did until he died.
right?
And that's why that pond is there.
Because at that time, if the concern with the ditch was an issue, at that time it should have been considered, and the lot line.
It probably should have. It probably should have. That whole road was divided up into equal lots,
Right.
and each one of the children in the family got one, and because of the way they were split, I think that's why that ended up there.
Right.
But if you went out to Mitch Hall Road and stood there and looked in front of that, you'd see a big farm field, and you would assume that boundary line is right along that ditch, but it's not. There's a line right down the middle of that field.
Yeah, I always assumed that, just like you said.
So we're trying to correct that right now. But that would leave the top lot with the pond on it with 4 acres and the bottom lot with 5 acres on it. And that's kind of where we're at.
Would you consider filling in the pond? Have you looked at that?
Well, it's 17 foot deep, so it would take quite a bit to do, I would guess. It's like building a bridge. Anything can be done if you have enough money to do it.
So you guys don't use the pond, really? It's there. You said your dad used to stock it.
Yes.
Stock, and he used it in the past. So do you guys still use it anymore?
Just my mom lives there at this point.
Is she able to maintain it?
Yes. She mows that 5 acres once a week, believe it or not.
I've seen her.
Anything else? Anybody else?
That's about it.
Darrell, do we have have we approved any variances in the township for a pond on less than 5 acres?
We have.
What's the what's the implications of having a pond on a small parcel like that?
I don't know the history of it, but it looks like.
Careful of those cords down
This is her. This is me. It looks like this up here. This is one of the lots that was split off and it was sold. So that's 3 acres, the same as mine. And that one has that on there. I'm not sure exactly if that was what you were asking about. I don't know if they consider that a swimming pool or something else that categorizes it different.
It's like a pond.
there.
Looks like it's just to the north of it.
Yeah, in answer to your question, Mr. Miller, I recall a variance, Mr. Hayes, maybe you even remember this, it was probably, I'm going to say maybe 5 years ago. It was on Mitchell Road, probably just a little north of this. Somebody was building a house. I think it was 2.5, 3 acres. And they needed to raise the house where they were building the house, and they were
Using that dirt to build.
Right, using the dirt, so, I mean, they're going to use the dirt from the property to raise the house and henceforth create a pond at the same time. And that variance was approved. There may have been other variances over the years for a pool less than 5 acres, but that's the only one that comes to mind.
How big was that?
Yes, that was
Less
my
than 5
brother's
acres.
lot.
That was Jim's
He
lot,
sold off.
right? He sold it in April 10th of 2013.
I guess my question is why are we requiring 5 in the law? Why are we requiring 5 acres?
This was the rule. That was always
It's
the
just,
rule.
okay.
Right, I don't know what
That
the
lot was 3.3 acres.
variance that I'm speaking of.
I'll be honest with you. I don't really see a problem with this other than you don't own the lot, okay? You don't own the lot where the pond is at.
That's not-
No, wait a minute. Let me finish. They got a variance, or were allowed to build that pond. All right. Now you want to cut that down, and you were well aware of all this before. So now, because you own this other parcel down the way from that, you want to hook them two parcels together. So then that would make that eligible to have a pond. Now we got 2 ponds in less than X amount of acres.
It could be. It could be. I plan on taking that, if this is added to that, and splitting that lot into 2 buildable lots, which both would be smaller than a pond would allow.
Any other questions? You want to go take a
Is there
recess?
anybody else?
Anybody else wants to speak?
Any property owners? Anybody else? Okay. We're gonna-
Excuse me, Mr. Hayes, one thing we neglected to do was to let the applicants know that we only have 4 members tonight.
Oh yeah.
And both applicants, let both of them know that, if they
If
choose.
it's 2 to 2, it doesn't go through. If it's 3 to 1, it goes through. Correct.
Right. So you have the option, both of you, if you would rather.
Wait until we have 5 board.
Right, a full board is 5 members. You need three yes votes, so it's, something to think about. My apologies that we should have.
That was I had it down and I didn't.
Yeah, we were kind of scrambling to get set up here. Well, even with 4 members, you need 3.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
3 in
you.
either case.
We're here now, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. All right.
All right. And then we're going to take a slight recess and we'll come back and we'll vote on it. All right? She said no. Here, you gotta make it fun. Why don't you get too short for you? Okay. Call the meeting back in session. We need a motion on the floor. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion for a variance request for a pond on parcel with less than the minimum required 5 acres for the property located at 4550 Mitchell Road, parcel number 70-2745.
A second. Vote.
Can we have some discussion before the vote? Do you mind?
Sure.
Before I do my vote, I would like to say that personally, I think I would like to see this done, but there is zero hardship, and I mean, there's just nothing we can find in here with hardship. So sometimes things don't go our way. Just I think it's important to look at the facts of this. I think this is all the way it was zoned in previous years, and it's kind of impacted now. But I think changing that zoning would be a benefit to the township. So that's my point.
Go ahead with the vote.
No.
Mr. Hayes?
No.
Mr. Miller?
No.
Yes.
Okay. Next up. Want me to read it? You're going to read it. Want me to read it? Okay. Conditional use for a residential care facility within an A3 district for the properties located at 6735 West Sylvania Avenue, parcel 7831951 and 6805 West Sylvania Avenue, parcel number 7831954. Any discussion?
There's a staff report, but
Yeah.
for some reason this is not coming up. Hey, this isn't good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay, maybe we're working now. Okay. Maybe. There we go. The applicant is seeking a conditional use for a residential care facility in an A3 agricultural zone district. The request applies to two properties. 6805 Sylvania Avenue is currently zoned C4 professional office. However, a change in zoning to A3 is in process and is pending the approval of this conditional use request. A single-family dwelling currently sits on the property but would be removed for the proposed residential care facility. The second property, 6735 Sylvania Avenue, is proposed to be split from the larger parcel at 6725 Sylvania Avenue, currently occupied by Advent Lutheran Church. There is currently a vacant dwelling and accessory structures on the property that would be removed for construction of the proposed development. The proposed residential care development will consist of a one-story, 60-unit, 64-bed memory care assisted living facility. Ingress-egress to the site will be from Sylvania Avenue, with some parking on the north and south, but primarily on the east side of the building, away from most abutting residential properties. Section 2914 of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution requires only one parking space per 4 beds for a residential care facility, thus necessitating only 16 spaces for this development. However, the applicant is providing 44 parking spaces in order to accommodate shift changes in staff personnel. The proposed project meets or exceeds all building setback requirements within an A3 zone district. While the STZR does not require setbacks for drives or parking areas for residential uses or districts, the applicant is providing at least a 30-foot buffer between the parking areas and abutting residential properties. The zoning resolution also provides no requirements in regards to landscaping or screening when residential abuts residential. The site plan does indicate at least 30 feet of landscape strip on the east and west sides, and at least 60 feet along the southern boundary to the rear. Zoning staff also strongly encourages the installation of some combination of privacy fencing, mounding, and evergreen plantings at least 4 feet in height to shield the intensity of the proposed residential care facility on the abutting residential properties. The applicant has indicated that lighting on the property will be directed downward and not onto any adjoining properties. This is also a requirement of the zoning resolution. Staff finds that the proposed conditional use is compatible with surrounding uses and should not significantly alter those surroundings or negatively impact neighboring residential properties and is consistent with the Sylvania Township zoning resolution. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the conditional use request for a residential care facility in an A3 agricultural zone district for the properties located at 6735 and 6805 Sylvania Avenue, subject to the 21 conditions carried over from the Lucas County Plan Commission staff report and listed by the agency of origin.
Over the privacy fencing, mounding, and evergreen plantings at least 4 feet high, one of the 21 conditions carried over from the staff report.
Now that was,
They have approval of 6 foot.
I'm sorry?
I think they were going to do 6 foot.
That was
It's in number 10. Or they were considering.
number 20, from the Lucas County Plan Commission. They were recommending a 6-foot privacy fence. And the applicant has had a meeting with the neighbors and can address that further as far as what agreements they came to. But in the end, it's going to be subject to this board as far as what screening or fencing should be put in place.
Are there any negative impacts of the parcel split for 6735 from the existing church as far as parking, or so it completely conforms to the residual parcel?
Yes. In fact, we could probably assume the remaining parcel of the church will be split again. The northern part that's on the corner of Sylvania and McCord, Zone C1, neighborhood commercial. So we anticipate shortly there'll be something happening there, leaving just the small portion where the church structure sits.
Is there anybody else who wants to say anything right now, or anybody from the audience want to come forward and speak? Any property owners here, or anybody?
Hello, my name is Dave Bachritter, and I represent the applicant making the submission for both the zoning as well as this conditional permit or conditional use permit request as well. Just a quick bit of background information of who we are and what we're doing and what we're attempting to do with the site. And as I said, I represent Chapel Development, a local company. And we are in partnership with a company called Capital Healthcare Group out of Baltimore, Maryland. And between the operator and Capital Health Group, and their operator is called Compass Point Healthcare. We operate approximately 40 different facilities over 9 different states. This is our first entry into the Toledo metropolitan area. We have built our building and about ready to open almost a mirror image type project like this down in Centerville, Ohio, which is just south of Dayton. And we've looked at and proposed this market to the equity providers of the project, and find that there's a very strong need for this type of care. We are looking at doing a memory care facility for Alzheimer's type patients. This would not be your typical independent care apartments or even assisted living. These will be a 24/7 monitored facility with controlled access of people coming out of the building. The people that will be residents in this facility need to be there and need to be self-contained within that property. And that's why in the middle you'll see we build around a courtyard to be able to allow people to have the access to the outside environment and provide that, because we really do need to make sure that security and containment of the folks are a priority. And so we actually have multiple different ways in which we keep the people from being unauthorized excusing or wandering off of the premises. Like I say, we are proposing to do a 64-bed facility that comprises 60 different units, 4 of which would be dual occupancy. Everyone else would be in single units. This, I think, as Darrell had indicated, this request is coming through with a companion request for a change in the zoning for the residential lot on the northwest corner of the property we're trying to build. We did put together some graphics. I don't know if those have been sent around or not, but we have some color renderings of what the project would look like, as well as some sample board materials, just to give you a feel for what we're looking at doing. You'll notice that this is a view from the northeast corner. Looking across, we're trying to centralize or coordinate all of the traffic of the parking to come along the east side of the building, which would be a further buffer for the residential districts that lie on the west side. You'll see it's a composite of both masonry and what we refer to as cement board siding, like a hardy board is the actual type. We'd be using all high-quality building materials for the project. I think there was one more elevation to show that would be more coming off of the Sylvania Avenue side. There'd be the main opening to the facility for people and visitors to come through would be all coming in this front, residents being dropped off through a canopy and then going through the entry that way there, and that shows the entry into the facility, which is really the only primary way of getting in and out. There are probably 2 or 3 other access points which are all keyed and secure coded, locked in the process. Last, I think we had an overhead of what the preliminary site plan.
Oh, you also had the materials. I didn't.
Oh, the material board.
I don't know. If you found it.
This is just a sampling of the type of materials that we'd be looking at using. One of the comments that came out, well, I should start by saying that our civil design is really in a preliminary state. We have not engaged into detailed evaluations of the site, just simply because of needing to get the approval process through before a significant amount of funds for engineering and design take place. But these are our preliminary drawings. We also would anticipate, as part of the final site plan approval process, including a landscaping engineer design of all of the plantings and that necessary for that. The biggest concern has been raised through both the Lucas County Planning Commission and neighborhood meetings, been the buffer zone in between the west side of our parcel and the east side of the residence. What's not shown on that plan is all of the residential lots. You do have a board here that if anybody wants to look at, certainly can feel free. But these all are residential lots that are on this side of it here. And if you have any interest in looking at it more closely. We had much discussion. The County Planning Commission talked about 6 foot tall privacy fence. Talked about landscaping as a buffer. Talked about mounding and landscaping as a buffer. The one concern that the applicant has, the distance from Sylvania Avenue to the south, the southern border, is approximately 600 feet. And that's a long distance if you were going to put up some type of a privacy fence. And although the materials can be vinyl and can be long-lasting, we're not, as an applicant, asking you to consider not requiring such a type of a fence to be put up. I think over a period of time, it has a tendency to deteriorate and become more of an eyesore. It also has issues with maintenance to be able to be upkept and taking care of, I would say, the west side of the fence becomes somewhat of a concern. We would much more appropriately request use of existing as well as supplemental evergreen plantings to be used as a barrier between the residential district and this residential care facility. That was really about the only comment, I think, out of the staff report that we wanted to specifically make a reference to. Happy to answer any questions that you folks would have regarding this project, and I'll try to answer them.
So I note looks like the dumpster enclosure and a generator.
Yes.
There along the west property line. Consider relocating that someplace other than adjacent to the residential lots?
Those will be with masonry walls, blocking and screening those completely. They will be not visible at all from the western side.
Does that generator cycle?
Only, yeah, I'm sure it does. I don't know the specifics of the frequency of it. Periodically, I'm sure they will go under testing for it.
Yeah, it isn't.
The generator is obviously just for emergency purposes.
Right.
But it's tested every week, probably.
It's not under the same state requirements as a skilled nursing facility, so it has less of those kinds of requirements. But to make sure it does operate, there will be a periodic firing of it.
My reference to the dumpster was more noise than it was containment.
Okay.
Typically, those are picked up,
Every
early
few
mornings.
days. Yeah.
But I understand why it sits there as it relates to the site plan, because you've not got a lot of frontage, so you have to put it somewhere, and you don't want them coming along and making this heavy-duty asphalt all the way to the back.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the school?
The church is right here.
Oh, what's that on yours?
Right here?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
That's Waterford Bank. Waterford Bank. That's
Okay.
Huntington Bank. That's the church.
Gotcha.
The other reason for the location of the dumpster areas up there is it also serves as our delivery area for food service, as well as because our kitchen and maintenance room and all the utilities come in from the street side there.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I guess my biggest concern is the property owners there on the, it would be the west side, I guess. When they built Waterford Bank, they came in and they did the mounding and they put these trees in, and they're finally growing up now. But along the whole backside of that Waterford Bank there is a residential area. And they didn't put a fence up there. They left the natural setting of the fence, and they did the landscaping. So I can't take your landscaping without your fence. I can tell you that right now. That's the way I feel. I think you owe that to them people to have a Taylor fence. I don't know if you were. Yeah, you know where Taylor Cadillac is?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They have a white vinyl fence that's put around there. I would, from my standpoint, I would suggest nothing less than that, plus your landscaping. Because what is there now? I mean, right now it's just it's an open field, and that's what they've looked at for all these years. I just think that should be. That's just one of my things that I'm suggesting or looking at.
Have you had any feedback from the surrounding residents?
Yes, there have been 2 different property owners that have attended both the Planning Commission and we had a neighborhood forum type of meeting a week and a half ago. And same 2 folks had stopped, 2 families had stopped in and talked and had a fair amount of conversation about fencing versus landscaping. And I know one of the persons here tonight, so I would probably defer to for him to speak what he was thinking. But there was what started out of wanting a 6-foot-high fence, I think sort of came around and thinking about it more and thought more the visual barrier of landscaping as a buffer would be the preferred method. But I can defer to
on the end of the
Jason
property where the church is at, that line there, which would be you would be looking north.
Okay.
That would back up to them apartments there.
The apartments are on the very southern border.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Okay.
about. Is there a fence up there now?
No, not that I'm aware of.
No, there's not.
It's my understanding that there are some security type fencing that a number of the neighbors have on the western side, but that's the only
This
fencing.
side over here?
Yes.
I don't think you would need it on the McCord side. Is that correct? McCord out here? Where am I at?
Yes,
Yeah,
McCord is
McCord is
there.
right
Yep.
Okay. Right. Or the Savannah Avenue side, along these sides. Okay.
Now, there is a fair amount of existing vegetation along that western boundary as we speak now. It's mainly very mature trees, and some evergreens, but not very many. We would be trying to plan to use as many of those existing trees that are healthy to stay and maintain some of the same
You
visual.
have to do, though, if you're going to mound that up there.
If we mound, it would be difficult. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Daryl, have you heard anything back from any other residents other than, I think this is probably the same email they forwarded to Daryl about the 4 residents?
Yes.
Was there anybody outside of that?
Just the 2 residents that were at the Lucas County Plan Commission meeting that I'm not.
Okay, is there anybody else have anything to say about it? Okay, all right. Are you done, sir? I
Yes.
assume.
Yeah, I'll come back up if you have any
Okay,
questions.
great.
Thank you.
Did you get sworn in, sir?
I did not.
How about you? Are you going to talk? Okay.
He was sworn in.
Yeah, he was.
Were you sworn in?
Yeah, he was here.
Okay, you need to be sworn. If you'd raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes. My name is Robert Housel. I actually live adjacent to the property that is the residential property, I guess. That's Becky's property. And so the question I have, or I guess that I want to share, is there's an existing fence that was put there for the property owners. My understanding is when Farmbrook was built, long before we bought the property. So I have a fence that's there that's mine, and I think it extends 1.5 yards past my yard. And so I guess my question is, well, first of all, I don't want the fence to go away. I'm okay if it's replaced, but I don't want it going away. So I want to make sure that as we talk about a broader plan here, if the plan is we're not going to use fencing, that impacts my neighbors more than it impacts me because I have a fence.
Right.
But if it means we're taking down the fence, then I'm going to have a problem because I require the fence. So I understand the barrier part. I actually, once we understand a little bit more about the plans, we'll probably plant some additional evergreens on our side of the fence just to help a little bit with the green zone from our side. But the fence is important to us, so I don't want my fence going. I guess I'm more concerned about someone saying, "Well, we're going to take that fence down," because, well, first of all, it's on my property line, so you can't do that.
Right.
But I don't want that to be something that comes part of this.
We're talking about, we're assuming that a fence is going to run continuous all the same type,
Exactly.
all the way down that property.
Right. If the fence that I replaced the fence that was there 2 years ago, and you're right, it's a long area because I put
176 feet.
I put 23. I think I put 20 some sections of fence up. So it is a long fence, and so I can imagine as it goes down the way that tends to get more expensive. But it's important for us that we have the fence there. We had it we have a gate, which we're happy to close off if someone's worried about the gate because the neighbor, Becky, is a neighbor of ours. But I would be concerned really about just having the barrier with the property. I don't have a problem with the design or the purpose. I think maybe the community should probably be a little concerned about people getting out and how we're going to make sure that doesn't happen because of their situation. But I don't see that. I don't see any other issue with anything else that's been presented. I think the drawings are nice, but the fence is a concern for me. So.
Just so I'm clear, are you on Pepperwood Court?
Pepperwood. I'm I have the big pie-shaped piece of land right up front. And I couldn't see on the drawing. Can someone show me on the drawing where the generator and the garbage is going to go? Because I haven't seen that much detail. Oh, that's up by my house. So the questions I would ask is that a diesel generator? If it's a diesel generator and it's going to run, it's going to be tested. Is it diesel?
I would imagine it's probably natural gas.
Okay. Because diesel's loud. Not that natural gas won't be loud too, but diesel's really loud. Okay. We hear when they get the garbage over at Planet Fitness in that area across from Sylvania at 5 a.m, it's pretty loud. So that would be a concern too. I know that there are rules around engine braking and all those other things that are associated with that residential area that are never enforced. So if we're gonna do this, and we're gonna have some rules around when the garbage guys can pick up, then someone's got to hold them to that, because the trucks run through there in the summertime, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and they engine brake all the time, which is they're not supposed to do. So as long as we maintain the residential aspect of that, I'm fine. Is that good?
That's good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gentlemen?
I can address the noise to some extent. Sylvania Township does have a noise ordinance that the police department takes care of, and that's from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., so they shouldn't be getting the dumpster.
when those guys go by.
Right, but if let's say they are getting the dumpsters at 5 in the morning or something, and that is something we can contact the police department, and they would address it. Pardon?
Yeah.
Right.
That's one thing.
Hi, my name is Jason Bollinger. I live at 3916 Pepperwood Courts. I don't know what lot number that is on there, but it's near the tail end of the building or the structure. I'm one of the two residents that have attended meetings with Dave to talk about the property. And our biggest concern has been, I wouldn't even phrase it the fence, but the boundary between the facility and our lot. I'm one of two that don't have a fence currently. So I'm concerned a little bit about the people that will be at this facility. If they happen to get out, what would happen if they came onto my property? There's quite a big decline when you go onto my property. It's probably about 4 feet. It's a steep hill. And if someone would tumble down, then that's my liability. I'm concerned about that. It doesn't necessarily, from my point of view, necessarily need to be a fence, at least not a privacy fence. I would like to have some kind of boundary there, though. And can vegetation do that? Perhaps. Can the appropriate grading do that? Perhaps. I don't know. I just know that these are the plans that I've been seeing, and I don't feel comfortable with it yet as far as how they would prevent someone from, if they happen to get out of the facility, from hitting my backyard. I would say, as far as the Taylor Kia fence, that white fence, the only thing I would say is we have in-ground sprinkling that uses well water, has a very high iron content, and it would look pretty ugly if it was a white composite fence after not a long period of time. We compromised a little bit as far as mounting maybe a 3-foot fence or something. I just want some kind of boundary between the facility and my home. And that can be a number of different forms. I just know the way it's been presented so far, I don't feel entirely comfortable with it. And I echo everything Bob says. I'm not against the development. I think it's a great cause. I'm just more concerned about the boundary.
So for boundary, are you talking about a containment boundary or a boundary that's more or just visual?
It's not necessarily visual. I'm looking at something to prevent a person, not prevent. I'm at a loss for words. I'm looking for something to deter someone from going to my property line. Exactly. I mean, you can be, like I said, grading a fence, a 2-rail fence, something to, let's have a buffer between the property to my land.
Thanks, Jason.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Depending on your pleasure on how you proceed going forward on this, if there is some form of fencing or screening that is being considered, I'd appreciate if there could be some definition wrapped into what type of a fence you're looking for. I mean, is it a split rail kind of fence that is a protection of people going across, which really doesn't provide a visual screening, or is it a fence that also blocks off and screens and is completely, blocks the complete visual sight of the
If we
facility.
decided to incorporate that in this variance, we would describe to you what we feel is acceptable.
Would the administrative approval of that then be up to Daryl in terms of the zone? It would be,
Us.
okay.
Daryl
the
just
definition.
Daryl just facilitates the meeting. The yes and no's and the way we do it is us. Now, that sounds kind of brash, maybe, but you have to understand, if you don't agree with us, the next place is Lucas County Court, and you can sue. So that's why they have a zoning board, and that's why they have us to. I think your facility is great. I don't have any problems with it, okay? Personally, I have to protect the homeowner, too. Even though they knew someday that would be developed, you still have to have a meeting somewhere there.
What I was, and I did, maybe I didn't say it quite right. What I was asking for is your ruling or your decision that will be implemented. Will Daryl then have? He will have the administrative responsibility for making sure that that is complied to. Is that a fair? So unless you tell us,
Yeah, that's not part of his. I guess. Yes, that would.
Oh, because we'll put a motion, we'll put a condition on that motion, and you'll have to
Right,
make sure
and then
that it gets.
and that would be
complied.
issued in your
Decision.
your variance. Yes, so it would be up to Daryl to not be the inspector, but he would, if you didn't do it, that's who you'd hear from. You wouldn't hear from us. Is that
But
is that what you're asking?
not quite.
Okay.
It depends on how specific you make your recommendation. If there's room for interpretation of what type of fencing,
No.
it will be very specific.
It will be very
Okay.
specific.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. I understand where it's coming from. Okay. Anything else? We're going to adjourn and go back and talk this over.
huge concern, but it is a concern. They watch it very close because every time people go to walk out, because it is a lot of facility, every time people walk out, they have to watch the people because some of them try to walk out with them. I know the guys are like everyone just before they went in there, if a 6-foot high fence were in there, then all the landscaping, and that's not anywhere near what we proposed, but all the landscaping that goes in, you won't see it anymore. If they have a 6-foot fence. Sidewalk parts, they want some kind of use. And that's why I said that they said it, you know, if we could, see a split rail fence with a wire on it, nobody's walking through there, and you can still see all the landscaping. If you put a mound in there, all those huge trees that are along there, I'm trying to save all of them that I can. And there's some 42-inch, 36-inch. There's some big evergreens, and I'm trying to save all of those. And they show on the plan all the existing ones, because you pick them all up. There's a hot real problem. So we're trying to save as many trees as we can. Yeah, I have. We bought last year. Any of those trees would be taken down. The other thing that, see, I'm in the planning commission in one of those fronts in Holland, and Strawberry Acres there, which has all kinds of oak trees in it. Right now, there's an oak grove that's going through. This spring, we're having it sprayed for that whole area in there. And that's something that, you know, so that the disease is killed off and doesn't spread. No, I think this is a nice project. The thing with facilities like that is it's a great transition between heavy commercial and residential, because you know something's going to go in there. And this is a good transition. Well, we know that now. We didn't know that before. Yeah. It's good for the schools because you get tax money from it, and you don't have any kids going to school from it. It's just, it makes a lot of sense. And so, that's good. We're just chasing one of your property. I thought it won't be go on. Yeah, go on. Even the squirrels are careful when they run the fence in my yard. But yeah, there's no rabbits. Squirrels say hi. You've had groundhog. There's 2 different ones. The older one. Small. Yes. Okay.
There's a common issue for 2 big trees right next to each other.
It's probably even right about in the middle of your building. Probably about right in the middle of the building there. Yeah.
There's 2 fairly large trunk trees that are right there together.
So where exactly is the driveway?
It's up at the upper right-hand corner. Here's Sylvania, coming in right here. And then all the main traffic goes down.
Here's the residential houses here right now. There's the house. it's got a 6-foot high masonry enclosure around it.
This is how you're supposed to about. This shows. This is the barn?
No.
Oh, this is her house.
Yes.
So her house
Her
is.
shed is right up here.
It's the gate, not once it's here, so our goes there.
And those are two trees that looks like we should take a look at. One, at least one.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's why we know so much.
This will be ready in $100.
From a visual side,
Well, we won't be able to see it. It'll be more than noise or odor that my wife would. There's odor from the
there
garden.
shouldn't be much noise. Should be minimal, I would think. 'Cause they put
Probably
Probably when they test them. It's for like 10 minutes to test them.
That's enough.
Yeah. Just to make sure.
Gas and everything is over there. They're redoing the electrical in here.
I'm only bringing it up and trying to position it right there.
We're on three listings. We've got floors and they're putting out and through the whole, not this part, but you go over one block.
Okay.
They've got, they're doing a vertical drilling, so they're choosing their tunneling, they're really, I guess half what I heard was half of the lines that the Edison has in, half of them they had. So some of the houses and stuff come up good. Well, somebody across the street from me lost half his power. And so it's not the first house, and I guess Edison kept going out and figuring out the other places. So they're taking all the way from Sylvania, all the way down.
So you're doing all that directional board.
There's a lot of big trucks parked down there. It has an impact on this one, back there is across the street.
Well, they'll be doing engineering with a good price tag for that short little distance.
Yeah. Well, yeah, make sure that it wouldn't hurt to ask if it's in good shape since it wasn't. Obviously, it's old.
Well, I think, you're saying from Edison Island from here?
Yeah.
It'll be pulled off the mains.
Yeah, because there's a power pole that sits right here.
And everybody's power comes down this way.
And what, they'll come down
Yeah,
there,
those down.
they'll come down this pole, and then they come underground over to
Oh,
us.
so you guys, it's like all of ours.
And
ours
our
ones
transformer,
underground here.
our transformer's right here, so they'll come over to the transformer. And the transformer will come in with the secondary building right there.
Nice. This will be the only thing that concerns her is this right. So this is like a turnaround, right, for the trucks. And this is 30 feet.
Yeah, I got 30 feet to this line right here.
Okay.
That's a building line. So they set back from there.
Okay. Yeah, there's big evergreens right here too.
Right. I'm saving those. That's an 18-inch diameter, 10-inch diameter. It's a 42-inch tree, and I'm saving.
Yep.
I was trying to save what I said. If I have to put a mound in there, it would take them out. And so that's why I was telling Dave to fight for not having a mound, because I don't want to lose those big trees. Because those are really nice.
I didn't have talk about that as an option.
No, you put a 2 or a 3 3-rail split rail down here with some evergreens behind it, and everybody be happy.
And they want to get up on the lines where they make their decision.
I have a 6-foot fence here, right? And if I was going to replace that fence, and if it had to come down, I would, because I have 3 rails, split rail around everywhere else. And that's what almost everybody has, right?
Everybody has it.
That's what everybody has. So, it would fit into the look of the neighborhood and all that. It would be hard for somebody to.
It does, this isn't what their direction, they're still on the visual.
On the white.
No,
They might be.
they're looking for screening of the visual effect.
Well, that's why. But if we could put a couple of blue, a handful of blue spruce and some. That's what we're gonna put. We're gonna put some
I'm
blue
gonna put
spruce in.
more than a handful and then put some evergreen shrubs in there too, because once the trees get so tall, if you put them too close together,
Then
they're
grow.
self-pruning, and you lose all
Oh,
your
you're
limbs
up.
down below.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah,
I think you could make it look like it fits right into the neighborhood with split rail and some evergreens. That's my opinion.
that's what I was trying to get across. Maybe I wasn't expressed enough. I'm not concerned with privacy fencing. I think I've been expressive with that from the get-go. Just one.
Yeah, the only reason the fence we have because it was what was there. So all I did was replace what was there. We put the 3 rail in the rest of the way because it was a 2 rail. I need something my dogs couldn't get over. So.
he's talking to get there, and he's talking, Taylor's got a normal fence around theirs, and if you don't say something before they give their recommendation, you're gonna be putting in a normal fence the whole way.
Yeah, if you don't want a vinyl fence behind your house, you need to say that. It's not gonna. You're not gonna unless they make you take mine down and put a vinyl fence up. Right? They won't do that. But,
They probably would make us continue on.
yeah, that would be good.
And I'll say these is for a vinyl fence the entire way.
That's why I said the
Because the
in-ground
sprinklers are hit it. It'll look terrible.
And we will not see any landscaping that goes in on this side of it.
I mean, I'm more than happy to speak again. I thought
I appreciate it if you would.
I think that's the worst.
No, even a blue fence is better because it's standing and it'll last.
Because I do, he initially went straight to that 6-foot tall white fence like Taylor has. He never really came off of that at all.
Well, it would look bad to attach the wood fence that already exists.
And that's why I asked the question. If you just said fencing is needed, would you allow Daryl to be the person to evaluate whether or not the final plan conforms or does not conform to that? I figured that they would say, hey, you need to have some form of fencing. Daryl, make sure that there's fencing in place. That would be latitude to be able to work out that type of detail.
sure.
But I'm not convinced that he isn't coming back with a specific recommendation.
As you said,
Yeah.
Unless they come back and put 2 to 2 and you guys go back. I lost the bet on the last one. Tried to get Jason to take me over under it. He was going to bet. People were going to bet. I was wrong. Completely wrong.
You thought they were pretty good.
Oh, he got one right, huh? No, I was trying to say he was going to go what? Yeah, well, either did I.
Time to go home. You ready, folks?
Sure can.
Sure. Well, it should be on record, so it should be, we got to open up there.
Sure.
All right? Call the meeting back to order. Go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to make sure that I was clear in what I was trying to express earlier in regards
all right.
to
Go
the
ahead.
fence and the boundary. I'm not necessarily interested in a 6-foot privacy fence that guards me from this structure. If anything, I'd kind of like to see the landscaping they put in. I'm more concerned about some kind of boundary being there. You know.
We understand that.
Got it? Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure, and especially if it's a white fence, because of what I expressed before, because in
Well,
Sylvania you can see what that
we
does.
worked it out, and we'll see if this applies.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Yeah, we're back.
All right, then I'd like to propose a motion to approve a conditional use for a residential care facility within the A3 district for the properties located at 6735 West Sylvania Avenue, parcel number 7831951, and 6805 West Sylvania Avenue, parcel number 7831954, with the additional condition of a split rail fence along the entire western border between this property and the residential, and appropriate landscaping to accent that.
That you've shown there. You know. That way you have that way you have some definition, not a huge expense, not a 6-foot fence, just a residential looking type setting that you also have.
I second.
Motion been seconded.
I did, yes.
All right, we'll vote. Mr. Sokka?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. C? Yes.
Okay. Well, it wasn't too bad. We kind of run around the block a little bit. But.
Yeah, thanks for your
Yep.
when you guys work together. We appreciate it when you go to the residents and have discussion. So we appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have one question for you. What's your last name?
Raider,
And where are you from?
Perrysburg area.
And what did your father do?
He was a farmer.
And he worked for who?
His carpentry firm was a long time.
Rudolph Libby, maybe?
No,
Not the Brock Raiders from Rudolph Libby.
I know who you're speaking of, Dale.
Dale.
Rudolph Libby was superintendent for years and years.
Yep.
He was a distant cousin.
Okay.
Let me
I
make
thought
a
maybe
motion
you-
to adjourn.
Oh, yeah. Second.
Who's motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Sokka?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. C?
How about Tim?
Tim?
Operator. He works at Edge. There, you know, landscape architect downtown in Bakerville.
But I've got a bunch of things.
Oh, it's cold in here.
We're all interrelated somehow.
That's how it works.
I'm really